Welcome to the Women of Distance podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Kramer. These are the stories of motivated women chasing big dreams in the distance running world. You'll hear from women who are crushing it on the trails, the track, and the road. These are not just the stories of women's results at the top of the sport, but the full story of how she got there, the challenges, failures, successes, lessons, and life between the miles. Women of Distance is proudly supported by OpenFuel, responsible sports nutrition to fuel your adventure. Check out their products and their mission at openfuel.co and use code WOD for 20% off every order, every time. This podcast is also supported by Soar Running, apparel collections designed specifically for running, for high-performance racing, and also for off-road adventure and endurance. Find them at soarrunning.com. That's SOAR running.com. We are also kept caffeinated by our friends and fellow trail runners at Summit Roasters. Visit summit-roasters.com and use code WOD15 for 15% off your order every time. We'd love to see Women of Distance listeners supporting those supporting us. You can find all of these links and codes in the show notes, and you can also head over to the Women of Distance Substack to learn more about how I'm using these in my own life and training. Without further ado, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy. Okay, I am hanging out with Lindsay Allison, Helen Mino Faukner, and Jane Moss. Welcome back, all three of you, to the Women of Distance podcast. Thank you for being here. How are you guys?
Great. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, doing well. Happy to be here.
I am going to have each of you real quick go through and introduce yourselves just so listeners know whose voice they're hearing if they are not watching on YouTube. Lindsay, I'm going to have you start. Introduce your full name and where you are from, and maybe where you are right now is interesting too.
Okay. Hi, I'm Lindsay Allison. I'm from the Bay Area. I'm currently in the Bay Area. However, I live in Telluride, Colorado.
Okay. Jane, how about you?
I'm Jane Moss. I'm from Salt Lake City, Utah, but I currently live in Boulder, Colorado, and that's where I am right now.
Okay. And Helen?
And hi, I'm Helen Mino Faukner, and I'm currently in Joshua Tree, but I live in Truckee, California.
Okay. 3 different cities. All right. In trying to tee up what we are doing here today, I struggled with how to even introduce this topic. It's just an interesting and intriguing conversation that we're going to have, I think. So for listeners, Lindsay and I very recently recorded a full-length podcast that was all about her story, how she got into the sport and where she is now. And we went so in depth on that history that we never actually got the chance to talk about like current racing and what she's been doing lately. And I have been really intrigued by that because I have kind of watched her go through this step-by-step evolution over the past many races that she has been doing. So we had planned to record a second podcast that was just all about that, all about the training stuff, the running stuff. And then at the same time, I have been intrigued by Jane, by Helen, watching a very similar pattern of patient progression upward in the sport with almost every race, it seems like, and seeing sort of a community developing together amongst all of you, also with several other athletes in the sport. And I'm just curious about this community, this culture that you all are a part of. You all just raced at Madeira together, all 3 different races that I think suited your interests and your skill sets at the moment. So I want to make sure we talk about Madeira as well. But kind of coming back to this community that I keep referencing, it's not a team in a traditional sense, I guess, but let's start there with how did you all meet? I don't know who wants to take that question, and it might be different amongst like each of you, but how did you all meet originally?
I'll go first. I met Lindsay way back in 2020 at one of my first races. I did the Way Too Cool 50K. And she was ahead of me the whole race, but I was kind of chasing her and would see her come into an aid station. I was like, this girl is really fast. And she ended up beating me, but then we chatted at the end and found out she lived in Boulder and I lived in Salt Lake and that we were both trail runners. And then just over the years, like she drove through Salt Lake and she texted me and we went on a trail run. And then she came to Boulder and I moved to Boulder later and like we would just randomly link up for runs. And then so I've known her since 2020, kind of, but we became close, I would say, at Worlds is really where we got to know each other. And then Helen, officially I met after Broken Arrow last year. We went on a run together the day after the race because I knew that we both worked with Rick and just connected from then on. So that's how I met these two.
Okay. And then Lindsay and Helen, how did you meet?
Yeah, I'll talk about that. I met Lindsay. I think like I knew of her, but I feel like her name really got like brought into my sphere. I think it was 2024. There was a Hoka like vert challenge on Strava, and I was trying so hard. And I was like, "Who is this girl?" She's like, "It doesn't even seem like she's trying," and she's like right behind me. And then we were both at the Mount Tam 50K. I wasn't racing, and then Lindsay was coming through Tahoe and was like there for Christmas, and so we ran together.
The theme is
Okay.
that I basically invite myself to run with people, I think is like how I get to know people. Is what we're talking about here.
You just impose yourself on everybody's run plans and then you're friends. It works.
Yeah.
The common thread here, though, I think also is that you all are coached by Rick, Rick Floyd. I want to make sure we're saying his full name, not just his first name. And I'm interested to hear about that too, because I think that is, like I said, the common thread that ties you all together and also is common amongst the rise that I'm seeing in you as athletes in the sport at the same time, and the change in some of you as athletes in the sport at the same time. So let's maybe start there. Where, Helen, I'll start with you. When and where did you meet Rick?
Yeah, Rick was actually my assistant coach in college at UNR. And so I think that was what, like 2016, 2017. And then I quit college running and then he just became my coach after that because I ran a 50K. I'm pretty sure I just posted on Strava, like, does anyone know how to train for a 50K? Rick was like, I do. I was like, okay, great.
And is that like literally the rest is history? It's been like, what, 9 years, maybe?
Yeah, I quit running for a while in there, but pretty much like every time I've come back, like I've only ever had a coach. And so I would like text Rick when I was like, maybe I might get back into running. And then he would like write me a training plan. And then I didn't. And then I think like the second time it stuck.
That's fair. Okay, Jane, when and where did you meet Rick?
So I met Rick, or I heard of Rick when I moved to Boulder in June of 2024. I moved to Boulder without a coach. I had been dealing with like a lot of injuries and I didn't want a coach. But I moved into that running house in Boulder with Bailey, Johnny, and Chris. And they were all on me about like, you should get a coach. You could be really good if you got a coach. And Bailey and Johnny had both talked to Rick and they brought him up to me as a good fit because I didn't want a coach at the time either because I had just moved to a new place and I was like, I just want to explore and go on adventures. I don't really want to follow structured training right now. And so they brought him up as a good fit for someone that like is very individual, will let you do biking and climbing and do a more fluid training plan that's much more individual and works well with people who are chronically injured like me. So they just kind of put him on my radar as he might be a good fit for you. So they gave me his email. We chatted. I was reluctant to start working with a coach, but I thought like might as well. So June of 2024, I started working with him. And then personally met him in October of 24 when he came out to Boulder. His sister lives in Boulder. So I met him personally there. And it took me a while, probably until after Black Canyon, of 2025 to like fully buy in, to be like, okay, um, this guy knows what he's talking about. Because hearing the way that he coached other athletes, and like MK, another athlete that he coaches, was also running Black Canyon. So I secretly thought he was sabotaging me because our training was so different. I'm like, why is MK doing all this volume and my training is so different? Um, so it took me till like after that race to buy in and be like, oh, everyone he trains is so individual, but what he's doing is working. So yeah, that's how I met him, and I'm a Rick believer.
That's a huge piece of what I want to talk about because, I mean, even just amongst the three of you here are very different athletes and coming toward similar goals, but I think in very different ways. But just, Jane, I think in your history and your story, there's a definitive change at that point after coming out of Black Canyon 2025. And when you said you kind of took that full buy-in and invested, and it shows. You've really been able to see that over the past year plus. Um, okay, before we come back to that, Lindsay, when and where did you meet Rick?
Yeah, so I'm probably one of like the most recent Rick athletes, honestly. I started working with him like March or February of last year. So it's been just a little over a year. Um, and I learned about Rick from Helen. Helen's like the OG Rick athlete, to be clear, as you can kind of hear. But I think like he really didn't coach very many people until like a couple of years ago. Like there was really just MK and Helen for like a long time. Um, and so when I ran with Helen, the day we met, basically, we were just talking about coaching and running and kind of what our training was like. And um, I just remember I was kind of in this state where I had a coach at the time. I really enjoyed working with him, but I was feeling like I was starting to stagnate. Just wanted like I was thinking about wanting something a little bit different. Um, and just like hearing the way Helen talked about Rick, I was like, wow, this sounds really interesting. Like, just that he's super individual and like just everything she was saying was like really intriguing to me. Um, but I just kind of like filed it in the back of my head. Like it was the middle of winter. There's like always a lot of reasons to just not act on certain things. Um, but then after Black Canyon, the same year, Jane's Black Canyon, the 2025 year, I had like a really bad race. And I think sometimes it takes like a situation to prompt you to make a change. And it wasn't like I had a bad race. Oh, it was the coach I need to change. It was like, it was just, I had a bad race. I want to switch something like for myself. Um, and so I didn't ask Helen or anything. I just like Instagram messaged Rick. And I was kind of like, oh, I'll just see if this goes anywhere. Like, I don't even know if it's going to happen. Um, and he ended up responding and, we connected and I started working with him like basically right after that. So yeah, a little bit more recent, but, yeah, I have nothing but great things to say about Rick. And I feel like I'm sure we'll get into it more, but just, I feel like the thing I appreciate the most is just how he understands each of us so well as people. Like, I think he knows me better than most people, even my close friends. And I think like the ability, he just has this like way of understanding people really quickly too. And like deeper than I think a lot of people do. And I think that is like what allows him to be such a good coach, just like can meet you where you're at, like pushes you in the ways you need to be pushed, like all those types of things. So yeah.
Hey, folks, quick interruption to make sure to say thank you to Open Fuel for supporting the Women of Distance podcast. Open Fuel is responsible sports nutrition to fuel your adventure. Check them out at openfuel.co. Right now, I'm loving their Ultra Fuel drink mix with 60 grams of carbs and 500 milligrams of sodium all in one serving. Soon, they'll also be adding a gel mix to their product lineup. Again, check them out at openfuel.co and use code WOD to get 20% off your order every time and support the podcast at the same time. Find the link and the code in the show notes. So I want to maybe kind of go in reverse order here and feeding off of that, making that switch. Like, What was there anything specific, Lindsay, that you feel like you can nail down was any sort of drastic change for you, either in relationship or in the style of coaching or the style of training? And maybe a question to add on to that is like how is that relationship formed? How do you communicate? How often do you communicate when you live in a different city?
Great question. So to your first question, like what changed in my training? Um, so previously I had been running really high mileage, and doing a lot of like longer intervals, I would say. And like the first thing Rick did was like, I think the first workout he gave me was like 10 by 300. Like I remember it. And he was like, run them downhill as fast as you can. Like it should hurt. And I was like, wow, haven't sprinted in like years. Like what is going on? And I think so things changed in the sense that he did have me do some new stimulus, and I think that was really useful just to switch things up after something you haven't done for a while. But I think he had like a good insight, which was like you're missing that like top end speed. Like and that's why you feel flat. You don't like when the races go out hard. I don't like when the races go out hard, like, because you can't keep up. Like that's not your strength. Like I run from the back. Like he almost immediately like at least knew that part about me. And so switched some stuff initially right there. But I'd say like over time, my training's been fairly similar to what it was before, but we definitely have done way more like speed type work than what I was doing in the past. And then in terms of the relationship building, it definitely doesn't happen overnight. And I feel like in the beginning, it always is like a slow progression to begin with. But the other thing that's unique about Rick is that he does not do a spreadsheet. He doesn't do training peaks. He doesn't have any of the fancy tools. Like he has a Google Doc, and it's like a table, like literally like, a 7 by whatever table. And it's like Monday, do this is like, it's so old school and I love it. Like, and I think he does that. Well, I don't know why he does it, but I think part of what it causes is that like you have to message him, like you have to reach out, you have to talk to him about what you're doing. Like there's no place for me to type in like did it, or like there's no like feedback mechanism in this doc. It's just like here's what you're doing today. And so he like checks our Strava and he'll text us like, oh, how was that? What was that? Like you did it wrong. Like that type of thing was happening pretty immediately, and that was shocking to me. I was like, whoa, I've never had this level of like personal attention or care put into my training before. And so basically from there, like, at least for me, I'm a communicative person. I like to like talk about what I'm feeling. I like share freely. And so once I saw that he was like willing to engage with me on a daily basis, like I took advantage of that. And so our relationship, I think, really like blossomed mostly because like he was willing to give me that time, and like I was looking for like the support and guidance at the time to like push myself and my training forward. So yeah, I think his like willingness to be available and like true like curiosity in not just in your training, but then also like how did that feel, like what's going on in your life to like create the circumstances that this is going bad or good, I think was like what was really different to me.
Coming then back to Jane, because I wonder if your initial experience was quite different in terms of being communicative and open, just saying that you were sort of resistant to having a coach in the first place, and it took a little while to buy into that relationship. How do you think that coaching relationship changed when you did decide to buy in, or how did that change the way that you were applying it?
Hmm. Yeah. So initially, when we started working together, same thing. It was a surprise that he just shared this Google Doc with me. I'm like, well, he'd put in training for like a couple of weeks. And I'd be like, well, do I type in what I did? Or it's all kind of like, how do we work with this guy? So some weeks I would get frustrated initially because I'd be like, he just wouldn't put my training in. I was like, what's going on? And then I would text him and be like, there's nothing this week. And then he would like go in and fill it out. And it was just kind of like weird. And I was like, does he work this way with all his athletes? And I was just kind of like confused, and then kind of started doing my own thing. But then he would start reaching out more and being like, well, how are you feeling? And I think we were both kind of in that test out phase where he was maybe testing out how I acted as an athlete and what training worked well for me and like what workouts I would do. And he does say he puts his athletes through these tests. He'll put like ranges in the spreadsheet and be like, you can run for from 60 to 120 minutes. And then he tests us out to be like, okay, are they going to do 60 or are they going to do 2 hours? So he does all these little things to see like how athletes work. But I would say the main thing is like, as you guys know, I have a right leg that's really problematic, and it has been like my entire time as a runner. And I've tried, like with coaches I've worked with in the past, with like a cookie cutter training plan, if it's in the spreadsheet, like I'm going to do it. And if I'm given workouts or long runs, like I'm going to do it, even if I'm having like all this knee pain. Like if it's in the training program, I'm going to do it. That's how I kind of used to function as an athlete. And I really wanted to be high volume and run the miles other people were running, but I continuously would dig myself into these holes because I would have pains and injuries pop up. So then I would go through periods of like really trying to figure out what was going on. So I've gone through 2 periods now where I took off like 6-7 months from running because I just was like, I give up. It's so uncomfortable. I'm trying to follow these training plans. Now I'm in all of this pain. So the big thing with starting to work with Rick is he would like work with me through that. He's like, you don't need to figure out why this is happening, or you don't need to take off this time. It's like, we can still build volume, do different types of workouts and runs that work well with what your body can handle. So I feel like working with him is a big reason that I've kind of gravitated towards the races that I've been doing, because that's the kind of training we figured out works well for me and that I can do. And that if I do start to have a pain pop up, he's really good at helping me. Like instead of testing things, which I used to do a lot, it's like, okay, let's do a couple of days of biking, or let's skip the workouts for the next couple of weeks. So I do very little intensity working with Rick. And it's just the biggest game changer has been the daily communication that we have about like how I'm feeling this way. And then he works with me on what's going to feel good. That's going to also prepare me for that race. That's still keeping me active and running. But it was frustrating at first because I always want to run more and I want to do more volume, but sometimes my body does not allow that. So I feel like my relationship with Rick is a little bit different in the fact that I use him a lot as like a sounding board of like, this is how my body's feeling. This is what I'm going to do. What are your thoughts on this? What strategically can we do to prepare for these certain races? He bounces off races that he thinks would suit my body well and my strengths well. I don't know if that answered the question at all, but
It
I
does
feel like,
answer the question. I think that's part of what I've seen is you, not that I'm highly involved in your training at all, but just in your racing, seeing you doing things that really seem to suit your strengths and that you're really enjoying and having fun with. And just like purely through like social media and things like that, I see the fun and the variety that you have in your day-to-day sort of schedule.
and I would love to do really competitive 100Ks and go for a golden ticket and run Western States. And like when I started working with Rick, I told him those are my goals. And that training just hasn't worked well for me. And I've like lately, and I've tried to force it where I'm like, I'm going to sign up for this 100K and I want to train for 100K, but then I'm just not at the point where I can handle that load necessarily. And so he kind of told me that too. He's like, I think you would be better at this type of racing, like in the most kind, caring way of like, sure, you could try and force this, but it's dug yourself in a hole in the past. So this kind of training and these kind of races might suit you better right now. And so I was a little bit hesitant because I was like, that's not kind of what I want to do as an athlete. But he learned me so quickly and so well, like Lindsay said, that then I kind of started to have to buy into that and be like, okay, these workouts are actually feeling good and my knee feels good doing this kind of volume and training. And then I can sign up for these or show up to these races and actually do really well.
That helps to establish the trust too in the way that things are going, the way things are progressing.
Hmm.
Helen, coming over to you, this being such a long term relationship for you, just from the outside looking in, it seems like you have had this really just consistent season over season, year over year sort of progression into the sport. And I'm just curious how your coaching relationship has played a significant part in that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I've said this before, like I kind of think that I'm good at running because of Rick. Um, I don't like thinking about training. I don't really like, to me, that just feels like it's none of my business. Like that's for Rick to figure out, and he will. And I feel like I really enjoy having that trust in someone. I actually like don't even have a Google Doc anymore. I'm sure it's somewhere. Like I know there's a plan. But I just text Rick every day and I'm like, "Hey, what am I doing today?" Or like if I'm like going somewhere, I'll be like, "Hey, like what am I doing for the next 3 days?" Like sometimes I get like a few days at a time, but it's pretty much a daily occurrence where I will just text Rick being like, "So what am I doing? What's going on?"
How does
Um,
that maybe translate to just your approach to the sport in general? I think that's interesting that you really just kind of one day at a time and don't necessarily know what's coming up next on any given day.
I mean, to be fair, like my training's pretty standard. Like do a lot of the same things like week after week. I'm not really a big workout girl. I have to get kind of tricked into doing it, or Rick will be like, "Hey, would you maybe do a workout?" And I'm like, we'll see." So yeah, I think that's part of it too. Yeah, I just don't really love thinking about training.
I think that's a statement though to feel like you can fully put that trust into somebody else and lean on them to do that for you and that you just take that work and do it. It simplifies the process for you.
Yeah, and then if I show up to a race, like, unfit, it's kinda like, well, that's not really my fault. That one's kind of on Rick.
So maybe this leads into my teeing up sort of the next place I want to go and talking about doing workouts and things like that. One of the things I was really curious about, and this is kind of a two-part question. You all started the year with a road half marathon. And I kind of want to talk about like where the idea for that came from, and how each of you both prepared for and then executed that race. Um, eh, yeah, let me start with that as an open question. I think maybe you guys had all connected as friends probably prior to this, and it sounds like maybe at the end of last year. But okay, so
That's
where did the
Lindsay.
idea
Yeah, that's me. That's me.
Okay.
um, where did the idea come from? Okay, we have this other friend, Mason, who is a friend of mine from Telluride. And last summer we were doing a lot of mountain running. And he just like started this joke that he was like, I'm gonna be a road guy. And it was a total joke. We were still like running 10K in the mountains every day, like we were doing all this mountain stuff. Um, and but we just started this joke that like, oh, we're gonna become road people next. Like that's our calling. And um, so he just like found he was like, oh, let's do the Houston half. And I was kind of like, well, why not? Like January, like I don't know. There's no reason why we wouldn't. Like there's nothing else going on at the time. I should probably get faster. Um, and so we had this little Telluride group of people, and we're like, why don't we just do a road half? So we were going to do the Houston half. A lot of debacles later, we did not sign up in time for the Houston half. It turns out when you're not an elite road runner, you can't just get into races. So we missed the sign up for the Houston half, but at this point we had some excitement around this like road half. And so we found this Austin half. It was the next weekend, Texas. I don't know. It was just like, oh, it's close by. We'll just do that. And so we kind of had this like group of a couple people that were going to do this Austin half. And then I was looking around at lodging options and I found this lovely mansion. And it was really big and I was really excited about it. And I said, wait, what if we make this like a group event? Like, what if we make this even bigger? And so I just like booked this Airbnb and it was huge. It was, I don't know, probably slept like 20 people if we wanted it. And so then my recruiting mission began. And so we had like, we already had like 5 or 6 Telluride people that were in. And so then I just started recruiting anyone who ran with me from like, I don't November to December was like getting hardcore recruited. So both Jane and Helen were my recruits. And they honestly it was pretty easy. They were easy recruits. So yeah, we ended up with like I don't like 13 people. Was it that? I forget. It was something like that. But yeah, it really just started as a joke. And then we got this house and they needed to fill the house and um the rest is history. But yeah, it was mostly a joke.
Okay, the rest is history. You all did like really well in this road half. So, and I really love getting to see trail and ultra runners do something on the road because I think it's sort of like the road is easy to understand, right? Like it's just numbers. And so you can sort of, I don't know, it's easy to translate, I guess. So it's fun to see trail people do something on the road that puts it into understandable terms. Talk a little bit about what did the training look like? Like, Helen, did you do workouts leading up to this? Or was this, you just trained easy and threw this down?
Yeah, I mean, I did my normal like training that I always do, but I didn't train specifically for it. And that was kind of on purpose because I was curious about how fast I could run if I just like didn't do any specific road workouts. And so then I found
That's
out.
amazing.
I'll
How
just
fast did
I'll
you run
just
for
say
listeners?
Oh yeah, I
I didn't
ran
look
like
it up beforehand. I should have.
1:15:48.
Just showing up
extremely
and running
fast.
off your workouts. That's
I'll say
amazing.
this whole thing was very impressive. I did train. I asked Rick, back to Rick, like, "Well, how fast do you think I could run a half?" And he said 118. And I said, that's crazy. There's no way. And so I was training to hit 118 and I did. And I was really surprised and Rick was right and I did it. But what's more impressive is that yeah, Helen ran 115 with no training and then Jane pulls out a 120 in trail shoes with no training.
Okay.
So I'm the one who trained and I feel like I did way worse comparative for the training that went into this race.
Okay. Shoes was a huge question I had again because you all are trail runners. What did you run in?
I ran in the Prodigio Pro, the La Sportiva Prodigio Pro.
Okay. I have that shoe because of you. And queuing up for this podcast, I wore it yesterday. And I was literally wondering if that's what you wore in the race because maybe I would. It's a nice shoe.
So I don't own any road shoes. I pretty much only run on trails. And I decided to go out to the Austin Half like probably 2 weeks before. It was kind of a spur of the moment, like, why not? Let's go do this race. So I did zero training also for it. And I didn't have road shoes. And I was like, what am I supposed to run this in? But it was just kind of a fun gathering with a bunch of friends. I was like, why not? And I feel like so many trail runners I know this winter specifically were training for road marathons and road halves.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's dumb. Why are people doing that? And then I was like, you know what? I'll do it too. So I kind of just hopped in and decided to do it. But yeah, I ended up running in trail shoes and then it was really cold. So I ran in Lindsay's sweatshirt also. So I was a mess.
Oh, I love it. Okay, Lindsay, what shoes did you wear on the road?
I wore an ultra prototype actually.
Oh, okay. It is a road shoe.
It's a new carbon road shoe. And I loved it. So
Okay.
keep your eyes out.
Helen, what did you wear?
I think I ran in like the Hoka carbon road shoe, but it's like pretty old. It's the only pair that I have, and I think I have like 10 miles. Maybe now I have like 20 miles on them. So I just wore those.
Do you know which one?
I think
The
they're like the
Rocket?
Rocket 2s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
which I liked
I
him. But
love it.
also, I did the same thing as Lindsay, and I asked Rick how fast he thought I could run if I had like trained, and I was like, all of that kind of feels like I feel like if you run like 111 to like 120, it's all kind of the same. So I'd rather just not train.
I love this. Okay, talk a little bit then about how this half marathon and whether or not you trained for it, the fitness you developed in the race itself, how does that then carry forward into what you have for the season? To maybe I'll take this one, but Helen, why don't we start with you? So we're starting the year with this road half marathon. All three of you are ultimately working towards CCC at the end of the summer, right? Um, Talk a little bit then about how your structure and your racing schedule looks in between that time, because I think it's really different for all of you as well.
Yeah, I mean, Lindsay and I have like quite a bit of overlap. Um, but yeah, I ran Big Alta 50K and then I just ran Madeira 110K. And then actually my next race is the Marin Mile. So I feel like maybe my road half gives me hopefully some confidence there. And then I'll run Valderan 55K, Box Canyon 30K, and then CCC.
Okay. Jane, what does your plan look like?
So the Austin half actually prepared me kind of nicely for the Black Canyon 50K because that was like, I don't know, you just get speed from running a fast half and it's a good stimulus before the race. So I did Black Canyon 50K into Calmoro Sky
One Black
Race.
Canyon 50K.
Oh,
Gotta mention that.
and
It's a good pick.
pushed Lindsay over and gave her a bloody chin. Just kidding, I didn't do that.
That was
um
here.
Then quite the contrast. Yeah, I just did Calamoro Sky Race, so a very verty technical. It was a 30K, and then Madeira 56K, and then end of June I'm going to be doing Meet the Minotaur and Mount Marathon. So those are a couple Arc'teryx races that will be fun, mountain type things. And then I'm going to be spending the bulk of my summer. I'm trying for the Whirl FKT in the Wasatch Mountains in Salt Lake. So that's kind of my main focus of the summer and maybe fall. And that'll also be good training for CCC. So that's kind of all I'm going to be, not all, because that's a lot, but that's what I'm going to be doing this year.
Very cool. Interesting projects there.
Mhm.
Lindsay, how about you? What does that progression look like
Yeah.
from the half marathon? Also at Black Canyon 50K.
Yes. So, uh, unlike these two, I trained for the half. I actually feel like I got the fastest I've ever been in my life. So that was like a big win for me. Like I think that was um I'm glad I trained for that and I would like to do another one. We're going back. Austin half 2027. We're all in.
Yep.
It's happening every year. So we'll do that again. But so yeah, I felt like that was really good momentum. And originally wasn't going to do Black Canyon 50K, but I was like, oh, well, I might as well like see if I could break my 50K PR. Like I feel fit and fast. So, I kind of jumped into that last minute too. PR the 50K largely felt like a success. I definitely felt like the trail legs weren't quite there yet, but that's okay because the road legs were. But anyway, so then I actually ended up with like a little hip niggle after Black Canyon. I'm really not sure what happened. So my original goal was to do the Big Alta 100K, but I unfortunately wasn't able to do that. But my hip has been feeling better. And Madeira became like a really good next option, especially because it was like more hikey and the flat fast was actually what was bothering my hip the most. So anyway, it ended up being kind of a nice progression into Madeira. And then the rest of my season is pretty hikey as well. So the next thing I'm doing is the Twisted Fork 68K in Park City. Ultra sponsoring it, so I'm really excited to go there. And then I'm also going to Valderan with Helen. I'm going to do the 110K. So that'll be a big one. And then the Box Canyon 30K. I love how Helen just throws that in there as if everyone knows what that is. It's like a local Telluride race.
Best local
And
race in the world.
that's right.
Is this the one? Didn't you two do a race in Telluride last year
Yes, but
together?
it was a different one. That was the
Different
Telluride
race. Okay.
one. This is the Box Canyon 30K. So we'll be head to head back in Telluride local races. And then I'll head to CCC in August.
Okay. So this is teeing off of that piece of conversation, and then also at Black Canyon, Lindsay and Jane racing head to head. You guys said or I think it was Jane who said in the pre-race interview that your only goal was to beat Lindsay, or maybe it was the other way around. I really enjoy seeing friendship and rivalry and competition in a friendly way like that, and pushing each other to be your best, reach your best, and know that you're going to push each other with maybe like some safety and security too. It's your friend that's out there working hard with you. Um, Jane, maybe I'll come to you to elaborate on that. I know because you sort of started coming into this community with some fear that maybe you were being held back or trained in a different way. Talk about maybe sort of the confidence that has allowed you to compete with your friends, with your community under the same coach.
Yeah. It's taken a while to start to build up that confidence, from thinking my coach would sabotage me or not, which I know he has full faith and belief in all of his athletes more than we believe in ourselves. But that's a big thing, that just continually showing up to races thinking that I'm going to get destroyed or like not do well or pick these objectives that I don't think I'm going to be able to achieve, and then I end up doing them, and like continually like surprising myself and doing better than I think I can, just build self-confidence in myself that like, okay, I do belong, I can compete with these people. And even like, especially having Rick as my coach over this past year, he believes in me so much more than I believe in myself. But so far, like, he's always been right. So I just like believe kind of whatever he tells me now. Where he's like, you can compete with these people. He'll tell me times that I'm gonna run. And every time so far I've run like basically to the minute. And I'm like, how do you know this? Like, even on the Grand Teton, he predicted my time to the minute. Black Canyon, he predicted my time to the minute. So I think just continually showing up and proving myself wrong and surprising myself. I'm just like slowly starting to believe in myself more and more. And then makes me believe in Rick really strongly as a coach, because when he tells me like, here's a race that I think you could do well at, I think you can beat these people or run this time, then I'm like, okay, I believe you, because you so far have never been wrong. Black Canyon was all in jest that me and Lindsay were in competition against each other. Like, we're obviously competing because we both want to do our best. But it's kind of been a joke because Lindsay will beat me in a race and then I'll beat her in a race and then she'll beat me in a race. So this race was my turn to win because she beat me at Kodiak and at the Austin Half. So I was like, this is my turn to win. I'm going to beat you. That's my only goal. But I don't know, obviously it's a joke, but it was helpful and super fun to run with her out there because we were both pushing each other. Like, I would go a little faster, then she would pass me, and then we would just kind of push each other, knowing that like we are competing, but we both, like, I wouldn't care at all if she beat me. I would be stoked for her. And I think the same goes for her, that as long as we're both out there trying our best. Um, and having the same coach too, but knowing that we all have wildly different training. So like at Worlds, we were all out there together running the course together, but the week before, like, I would have 60 minutes with strides and Helen would have 45 minutes and Lindsay would have 2 hours easy. We'd be like, we're all training for the exact same race, but we have wildly different training and we're all probably going to do very well because, I don't know, we trust our coach and we're all good trail athletes. But yeah, it's not a threat at all being coached by the same coach. I think we all want each other to do our best and we all believe in each other as athletes, and it's fun to be able to train and run together also.
I want to take a moment to thank Soar Running for their support. Soar Running design and produce running apparel that does justice to the commitment and passion of runners globally. Encompassing textile innovation, pioneering design technology, sports science, and the real world experiences of runners. Their collections are designed specifically for running, for high performance racing, and also for off road adventure and endurance. And that's what I'm most excited about. Their trail line is specifically designed to be technical and durable for long adventures. It is high performance trail gear, blending innovative fabrics and detailing for off road resilience, function, and endurance. SOAR's innovation and ground up approach to product development results in a new way of thinking about trail running apparel. Check them out at soarrunning.com. That's SOAR running.com. I think that has to really come from a deep trust in your coach and having invested in that relationship over time. And I think that's what's been so fascinating to me to watch is that obviously you all have your own individual coaching relationship, but there's also a culture being built around the coach and the people that he's working with and the community that's forming around that. And I think that's a big part of what's been so intriguing and fascinating to me to watch from the outside. Um, I want to talk a little bit about Madeira. This maybe kind of highlights, you all went to the same race weekend, but you were each doing a different race. Helen did the 110K, Lindsay in the 80K, Jane in the 56K. Talk a little bit about where the idea came from. And it wasn't even just you guys. I know the Sullivans were there and there was a larger community there. Talk a little bit about the idea for Madeira and where it came to all kind of go toward this race together.
I honestly
Oh,
think it was kind of Rick's idea, like,
Yep.
to just like do like a team race and something where there were a lot of distances so like people could kind of choose what would be best for them based off like their training or that time of year or what they were interested in. So yeah, I think that one was like actually kind of Rick's idea. And then I was like, yeah, I'd love to go to Madeira. That'd be super fun.
Mhm. Yeah, he brought it up at the beginning of or like mid end of last year as like this would be a cool race that we could all go to together. And I don't know, I've raced very this was my second time internationally racing, so I was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna go over to Madeira to do that." But then like, I don't know, as the year progressed and a bigger squad was going out, we were like, "Why not?" It could be a fun kind of like team reunion.
yeah, I
All
think it
right.
really
So,
speaks to sorry, I'm just gonna add a little bit.
no, go
I
ahead.
think that, so, like, Rick only coaches 15 athletes or so, so I think it's really unique that, like, this is even a thing that could happen, that, like, he could invite all of his athletes to, like, go to a race together, and the fact that we're, like, are all friends, I think it just speaks to like what he's built. I think like he's intentional about who he works with, and I think that you can like feel that in we all like do get along, and I think there's like a reason that we get along. So I think that was like that's just really another like special part of it that there's not only is like he comes up with the idea, but we're all like so bought in that we're like, oh yeah, of course we should definitely all do that. Like I think that's really unique, and um I don't think there's very many like pods of that are going on. So yeah, I feel super grateful.
Pod is a good word. Yeah, that's what I mean. There's clearly a culture being established here, and I love it. I love to see it. Okay, talk a little bit. I want to hear about each race. Let's maybe talk about the island of Madeira for people who haven't been there. Like, what do these courses look like? What was the weather like? Yeah, I'll stop my question there before I add too many things.
Insanely beautiful. I've never been out to that area before, but you're just like on this island in the middle of the ocean. It's a weird feeling being on such like a small plot of land in the middle of this huge ocean. You're like, am I just gonna sink? But it's the weather is crazy too because you can be on one side of the island and it's sunny, and then you drive through the trail like 20 minutes away and it's raining and rainy and foggy. But the time we were out there, we were all out there together for about a week prior to the race, and the weather was pretty much beautiful. The trails stay pretty wet, so the course ended up being quite muddy because you'll get those afternoon rains and fog. Um, but it's a really incredible, beautiful place, and it's pretty convoluted to get to. So I feel like I would not have gone there if it weren't for this race. So if you get the chance to do the race or go out to Madeira, highly recommend. I don't know what you guys thought of it.
So insane and so beautiful. Like, I don't some of those trails, I'm like, I don't know if I've been on a more technical trail. It was kind of crazy, but it was like so insanely pretty, like to the point that like during my race, I was just like crying. I'm like, it's so pretty. What?
There's like 1 million stairs on this island, and they're all really different. Like, and I think it's actually really cool. Like, some of them are wood stairs that are short, some are wood stairs that are long, some are just rocks, some are like mud. I don't even know what to call it. Some are like grass stairs. Like, there's just every type of stair you could ever imagine exists on this island.
Metal
So
stairs. They were
metal
metal
stairs,
stairs.
yeah, rock, like there's just literally everything. So the course it's a lot of stairs. Let's say is a good summary.
I had
I
zero
think
idea what to expect of this race, really, because I didn't really pre-run the course, and it was uh, so much harder than I mean, I did the 56K. I can't even imagine running longer on this kind of terrain, but it was so technical and so hard and so beautiful, but like nothing that I was expecting. It like, yeah.
I'm
It's funny
trying
because I
to
feel
look
like
up real
the
quick.
only
I'll look it up
thing
later. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I just feel like the only thing that I had ever really heard is like there are a lot of stairs.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got there and I was like, oh, they weren't messing around. There are a lot of stairs. They were right. There could be more, but they were right.
That's what I was trying to look up. I think I'd seen Jasmine post about like 100,000 steps or something like that on the course, something ridiculous like that. I'll look it up later for actual numbers.
Tommy and I were
Um,
joking that I should have counted during the race.
keep you distracted in one way.
Yeah.
So I really want to hear about the race. Helen, maybe let's start with you. You had the longest day out there, the 110K course. Quick spoiler alert for listeners, you were second female overall in this race. Tell us a little bit about the day. When does it start, and what does the course and the race look like?
Yeah, it starts at midnight, which was like a big challenge for me and part of the reason why I wanted to do it. Because historically, the only other time I've run at night, it went very bad. So I was excited to try that again. And then it's pretty much just like 4 5,000-foot climbs. And then like a few little ones, like somehow in there. But yeah, a million stairs. And it was interesting because normally I feel like I go into races being like, oh, I'm so excited to race and like to compete. And with how this race is, I feel like I was looking at it like totally different. It was more like, okay, I'm going to like have the experience of crossing this island, and I hope that my experience takes less time than the other women, but like I can only go as fast as I can go. And that's as fast as I can go because this is crazy.
I love that. Talk a little bit coming up to the start. What did you do? Like, how did you manage your day to be ready for a midnight start?
Yeah, so I feel like that was a big thing because the other night race that I tried to do was UTMB and I DNF'd. And so I went into this like pretty differently. So like I tried to sleep as late as I could. So I woke up at like 8, had breakfast, didn't drink coffee, then I knit a bunch. I really didn't do anything all day. I then ate dinner at like I don't know, 3:30 p.m. Got into bed at like 4:20, slept for 2 hours. Honestly, I think I should have gone to bed maybe at like 5, at like 5:30 if I were to redo it. But then I like woke up at 6:30 and then I had breakfast. I drank coffee. I said good morning to everyone. And then Ryan drove me, Tommy, and Joe, who were the other people doing the 110K in the house, to the shuttle stop, which left at, I think we had to be there at 9. The shuttle left at 9:30. We got to the start line like around 11 p.m. And then, yeah, I just kept pretending like it was morning. And then I took a lot of caffeine.
Did you take a lot of caffeine in the race as well, or just sort of like leading up to the start then?
Both. Like I drank a cup of coffee, I drank a Red Bull, and then during the race I was taking caffeine pills. Some of my Roctane had caffeine in it, and then I drank like 2 Red Bulls during the race.
I'm curious hearing you talk about just really having an experience out there and you're moving the best you can over really difficult terrain. How aware were you of the race and the competition? We didn't get to see any of this, but on results I did see how close second and third place was at the finish. Were you aware of that at all?
No. I mean, I, like, kinda knew the gaps because there was one I, like, fell pretty hard, going down the first downhill, and then I was just straight up walking downhill because my butt hurt so bad, and I eventually see Rick at before one of the aid stations, and I'm like, "How has no one passed me? Like, what is going on?" And he, like, at that point, I think Katerina was, I don't know, like 20, 30 minutes ahead of me. And he's like, "Oh, Jasmine's like this far back." Um, and then, yeah, like towards the end, it's interesting because all of our races converge. So, like, I think maybe the last 20 miles of my race was the same as everyone else's. And so all of these people were running, like, passing me. And I just kept thinking, I was like, I really hope that Jasmine doesn't know how close she is because the last aid station was like at, I don't know, mile like 50 or something, like 48 or something in there. And I was like, hopefully she just hasn't seen me and she is just content getting third because if she passes me, I don't know that I will do anything about it. I think maybe I will become content with getting third. And then I talked to her at the end and she was like, yeah, I was just like there. And I was like, great. That's kind of what I was hoping. So no, I
So
had
talk
no clue
about
she was that close.
Yeah, coming across the finish line, how do you feel about the race, about your experience that, you had out there?
Yeah, I do this thing during races where I'm like, "You can cry when you're done. You can cry when you're done." And then normally I finish the race and I'm like, "Oh, I have no reason to cry. I'm done." I saw Kelsey, my friend who was crewing me, I just started like sobbing. And I was like, "I didn't even get to see the orb." And she was like, "What?" And I was just so happy I was done running. And I'm like, I didn't even get to see it. We were in a cloud the whole time we were at the top. There was no orb sighting. And she's like, "You're ridiculous." Um, yeah, I was so happy to be done.
What do you feel like you learned along the way and that will carry forward and benefit you in the rest of your season or the rest of the year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like such a cool, beautiful thing that like within Ultra, we get to experience such a wide range of the emotions that humans are capable of in like such a short amount of time. And it's also kind of crazy that like I love something so much that I will do it to the point where I don't want to do it at all. And I would like love for it to be over, which is also really interesting. And then I think like just seeing how we cope with not wanting to do things or wanting things to be over, like, I was completely gaslighting myself. Like, Jane passed me because our courses had converged, and I think I said to her, "I'm fine. Running literally isn't even hard." And I was just, like, saying that in my head for, like, 20 miles. I'm like, "Running's literally not even hard. You're fine."
I love that. I love that. Not that it's about me, but I had a similar experience this weekend. I was crewing for a friend who was doing a 100-miler and having a hard day, and sort of a similar experience of just, like, the range of emotions that you go through and the amount of processing that you do out loud when you are tired and going through a thing. It's neat to hear that reflection, but also to hear you sort of absorb and appreciate that for what it is in the moment and afterward. That's neat. Um, okay, Lindsay, why don't we come over to you? You were kind of the middle distance here at the 80K. Talk about so Helen's race started at midnight. What time did your race start and what did that convergence look like? And how did your day go? To be clear, you won the 80K race.
Yes. So my race started at 7 a.m. Um, I had a bit of an interesting beginning of the race because the day before I started throwing up out of nowhere. So I honestly wasn't sure if I was going to be able to start the race.
Mm.
I was just like feeling super sick. I basically like the day before the race, I think I went to bed when Helen went to bed at 3 p.m. or whatever time it was, and I don't think I got up until the morning. So that was a fun situation to deal with. And you have to take this bus to your start because they all end at the same place, but the starts are kind of like dispersed around the island. And they bus you to the start. And of course, like upset stomach with a bus ride is like not the most ideal situation. So I basically was at the start line, like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going to happen here. Um, so that was like an interesting start to the day. But honestly, like my day went pretty well. Like I felt kind of off for a couple hours, but it must have been like a 24-hour bug because like a couple hours into the race, I was feeling totally fine. I was super grateful for that. Um, but yeah, I think I just had like a fairly steady day. Like nothing was amazing, nothing was really bad. It's funny because Rick gives Helen like mantras before her races. I wish he would do it to me. I don't know why he doesn't do this for me. Um, but I think that he gave her one, and I honestly was thinking about it the whole time, and it was like, I think it was, you don't have to be perfect to be great.
Mm.
So thanks, Rick, for giving that to Helen because I was thinking about it the whole day, and that's like really how I felt my day went. Like it was like nothing was perfect, but it still went pretty great. Um, so yeah, I was super pleased. I had done this race back in 2022 as my like longest race at the time, and I basically just like walked it and was just bopping around trying to finish, and I finished like almost 5 hours faster this year. So it really just felt like a nice return to the race, and like a really cool opportunity to like give it my best foot, like knowing how much has changed the past 4 years. So um but yeah, it was fun. Like Helen said, all the races kind of like come together at one point. So like I passed one of our friends who was in the 110K, like got to see him. That was really fun. And then the second half of the race was pretty comical actually because I must have hit the convergent point at like the middle of the 50K. Like I don't really know where I was, but I think I passed like 500 people in the last 20 miles in this race. Which was it was like a funny experience because um like talk about like camaraderie of races, like it was pretty cool to like see so many people that are like experiencing this like a beautiful part of the island. Um but also like such a bizarre experience because usually when you do these like longer remote races, you're like kind of on your own for most of it. But yeah, like the second half of the race, I was seeing someone every like 5 steps, which was like an interesting experience for like the type of race that it was. But yeah, it was good. Yeah, I would summarize it perfectly with Rick's little mantra of like, doesn't have to be perfect to be great.
Does it help you in a mental sense to, like, when you are passing people like that and surrounded by people like that, to sort of remind yourself we're all doing this hard thing, and even
Yes.
if it's hard, other people are doing it too. I can do this.
Yeah, and I think um Lauren, it goes back to our like previous conversation about just like I sometimes have like anxiety when I'm by myself in the middle of the mountains. And I think like honestly being surrounded by a million people was super helpful in that regard. But also it was like a good pushing mechanism because I ended up like pretty in no man's land after a while. Like the top men were a ways, and then I think I had a decent gap back. And but like you would see the next group of people, and like I think pushing like through that was it, like kept me in it. And like I feel like sometimes when you're in no man's land in races, it's easy to just kind of like be complacent. But I think having so many people, like there's always someone to chase. I think that was um a good like forcing function too.
Is there anything you might have answered this already in your reflections on this, but is there anything you feel like you learned or will take away from this experience that carries into what you have coming up next? Even just maybe in a confidence, a stamp of
Yeah,
proof for yourself?
I think that for sure. I think the more I do these longer races, like the more confident I get. I think um I am like starting to believe, and similar to like what Jane was saying about Rick believing in us, like I think I'm starting to believe that like I can be better at the longer things. Like I think I'm fairly steady. I can just kind of like keep going. And I think this race was a good example of that. Like I really just felt stronger the whole day. And I think this was an interesting race. Like I said earlier, I don't like to go out hard in races. This race I didn't have to go out hard. So it really was like it worked out well for me. However, I know that it's definitely not how CCC is going to be, and probably not how a lot of my races are going to go in the future, but so I think like I was very aware of that in the race, and I think like that was a good learning to just like I think the more I do these longer ones, you start to understand like what your limit is, like how hard can you push for these longer amounts of time. Like I don't have a ton of experience doing the longer ones yet. So I think just like every time I do, you start to get a better sense of like what is sustainable. And I feel like um so just like the kind of like the confidence of like, okay, you can push yourself harder than you think you can. Like you're gonna be able to keep going for 10, for 12, for whatever number of hours. And so I think I'm like leaving this race too with a lot of excitement, especially for Valderan later this summer, of like a similarly long-ish race. But I think more competitive. And I think I'm like excited to see to like put myself in a situation where it's not just like push yourself and see if you can complete, but like more like push yourself, complete, but like the goal being to like really be competitive. So I'm kind of glad that the year has gone the way it is, of like maybe not as competitive or popular of a race, like to start to kind of like get that confidence built, know I can do it, have like a really hard experience. Like this course was crazy, like Helen was saying. And so I think just like building off that to like getting more and more competitive till we get to CCC is like um I'm hoping that that's like a good progression for me over the rest of the year.
What I'm hearing is that the Box Canyon 30K needs to go out fast.
It's gonna go out
Oh,
fast
I'll make
because
sure
Helen
it
goes out
does. Yeah, it will definitely go out hard, I promise.
and
That
I'm
was a
gonna be
beautiful
very
reflection, and that's all I could think was like, "Hey, we need to go out fast here. Come on, Helen."
she does. She drops me immediately every time. But hopefully my Austin half speed is gonna come into play when
Mhm.
I am ready for the Box Canyon 30K start.
And the training that went into it.
All the strides you
Correct.
do.
All the strides. I'm gonna be doing all the strides, Helen. You better watch out. I'm gonna go off that line super hot.
All right, Jane, coming around to the 56K. So, how much? Well, let's start with what time it starts, and then how much of the course is shared with the 80K and the 110K? Like, it sounds like they kind of all converged at the end, not necessarily the whole way.
Yeah, so I had the bougie 9 a.m. start, which was super nice. So I got to get a nice night's sleep and had to take a shuttle at 7:30. So I didn't even have that early of a wake up. So it was great. And yeah, so our race starts, we have a climb all on our own. And then I don't know exactly the amount of miles we share, but it's the end of both of their courses is the majority of my course.
Okay.
So shared a good amount of it. I think towards the top of the first climb, I started running into some 110K runners. And then I saw a lot of, because there's a marathon as well. So then I saw a lot of marathon runners. But I feel like I saw less people throughout my race than you two would have. Because it doesn't stand out to me that I was passing that many people. But yeah, I did stumble upon Helen and Jasmine in their races. So that was fun. Um, yeah.
Short summary. Talk
Okay.
about how you.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I gave you a short question there to lead you up. Talk about how your race went and how you felt out there along the way.
Yeah. So this whole I did 2 races in April for like a 3-week trip. So April was pretty, I don't know, significant for me. And like I had 2 big races overseas. And Rick's mantra with me is if I can just get to a start line, no matter what my training has looked like, as long as I can get to the start line, things usually line up and go pretty well. So honestly, from Black Canyon until my flight to Spain was pretty rough mentally. I didn't piece together a super solid training block. I just have some quite chronic issues with my right leg that have started becoming very mentally challenging. So I've kind of digging myself into a mental hole, and I was not really excited for this trip because I didn't even think I would be able to start either race. Um, so I was like, why am I going out to Spain and Portugal if I don't even know if I can race? But all my tickets were booked, and I just tried to keep a positive attitude about it. But once I got over there and kind of let go of expectations and tried to get out of my head a little bit, because a lot of my things right now are mental. So that's kind of the component that I'm working on right now, is like the mental aspect of running and training and injuries and things like that. But after my first race, built some confidence. My body started to feel better. So going into Madeira, just being able to be on that start line and like being able to spend this time training with people, it was like all a celebration. So I didn't care about the competition at all. I didn't really care about the race vibes or anything. I was just like, I'm just so grateful to be on the start line. So it kind of, again, I feel like it's kind of a running joke with me that it's a battle to get to every single start line, but I eventually make it there and things go fine. So the race itself, I was able to kind of shut off my mind. I feel like that's, I don't know, with races in general, most like it feels like a superpower where you can just forget about everything else. And all of a sudden, all of these pains and niggles you've had are no longer there. So from the start, the race it felt hard. I've been doing too many short things that I feel like I'm quite fit for like a 3.5 hour effort. But then even though the 56K was the short race of the week, it felt really long to me. And I feel like I would definitely wasn't at peak fitness or trained for a 6-hour race. So it felt really challenging, but it was so beautiful. The competition, Rachel Drake was in the race, which was really cool to like line up against her. She's such a strong runner, and I've never raced her before. So I had literally no idea if I would be able to beat her or if she would beat me. But it was fun to have someone of that caliber to kind of compete against. But we ran together for like the first 3 miles, and then she took off, and I was going lactic trying to chase her. So I let her go, and I honestly never saw her again the whole race. And because I was just kind of really happy to be running out there, and it was so beautiful, and it started with like a nice drizzle, and we were up on the peaks like in the fog, and it was so cool that I like the entire race I couldn't find that competitive drive, and I was okay with that. I ran into Rick at my first crew stop at mile 26. No, at 26 kilometers. That was a crew stop that I had. So he was up there, and I got there exactly on my predicted time. I was like, Rick, how do you know this? I was there at like, I don't know, 3.5 hours or something. And he told me, he's like, Rachel's only 6 minutes ahead of you. And then all of a sudden, I felt like I was working as hard as I could at that point. I was like, my legs are heavy. I've been climbing for the last 26K up like steep stairs, and I was pretty worked. But then all of a sudden, I like turned it on for like the next 3 miles and was like bombing the technical downhill. And I was like, where is this coming from? I should have been running this hard the whole time. But then I kind of lost that competitive fire and was like, I'm just gonna, I don't know. I was still working hard the whole time and finished the race absolutely destroyed. So it was still a really hard effort. But I think I'm assessing like my relationship with racing versus doing more like objective-y type things that really inspire me, because just been feeling a little bit burnt out on racing. So it's just been more of a celebration of being able to kind of be at these events. But overall, I'm so glad that I was able to do this race and do really well and be out there with everybody, because it was a blast and it was beautiful. And I'm excited on the result.
So Maybe that kind of segues into bringing us to a close. One of the questions I had was, what does it mean to each of you to be able to come to an environment like this and support each other and know that you have sort of this team and this network there with you and behind you? And also, then when you take that home, what does that support and relationship look like when you are home in different cities and different places and just sort of, yeah, what does this pod, what does this community mean to you? Jane, I'll start with you, just coming off of that segue.
It's been really, I would say, like, game changing for me. I've been like, these two think I hate running with them because I'm a very solo runner and I love running by myself. And I'm a very independent person. So I just kind of like doing my own thing and like going on runs by myself. But um, it's really broadened my community and like just everyone that Rick works with. Like, I would say primarily these two, of like always having people to, if you're in the area, you can always run with them, or like we have like little, I don't know, trips that we can plan together. Just like always having those people that you can run together. We're of similar levels. We can do similar things together. Um, but also like it's encouraged me to run more with people and to like be more open to like the different groups that I would run with. Whereas like I'm always like, I'm gonna run my pace by myself and nothing else. But it's like then when I run with like Lindsay and Helen and stuff, it's like all of a sudden I'm not thinking about my knee or my hip, but I'm like all these pains that I have that I think of, it's like all I think about when I'm running by myself. It's like they go away when I run with other people. So it's yeah, allowed me to be more open to like expanding my community and not just being like, so running is my thing, I'm going to do my own thing. But now I have a community of other people that do the same thing, and we're all like so supportive of each other all the time.
I love that. Helen, maybe I'll come to you next. As when you started, this was a very small pod and it has grown to a larger one. What is this support and community and camaraderie meant to you?
Yeah, I mean, it means so much to me and it's so fun. I feel like a big thing is like, yeah, we obviously compete against each other, but I just want everyone to like have their best day possible. And it's so fun to like get to support your friends through it. And yeah, like I think Lindsay does such a good job of like planning things and bringing us together. Like even for Big Alta, she ended up not racing, but crewed me. And then Jane was there, but wasn't racing. And so it's fun to like get to go on these trips with friends and like yeah, Lindsay and I will go to Valderan and then like Jane and I were thinking about like doing an East Side trip together. So yeah, I think it's just really fun to get to have like friends who are interested in similar things who I get along with really well. Um, it is kind of funny because Rick will ask some of us, like if someone reaches out about coaching, he'll be like, hey, so this person reached out, like, what are your thoughts? Um, he didn't ask us about Jane though. I think he just knew that she would be a good fit. He did ask me about Lindsay and I was like, no, she's great. You should definitely coach her.
He said I didn't go through the vetting process. He's like,
You didn't.
you were just doing stupid training and stupid races, and I knew you needed help.
He's like, I don't care what the others have to think.
I love that, though. I think that centers back again to the broader culture that is important to the group. Uh, that's neat. Lindsay, how about you?
Um, oh man, I mean, you guys both said a lot of what I was going to say. I feel like, um, well, okay, I guess there's a couple things. I think that when I started in the sport, like, I felt like the pros were like this other thing. Like they felt like it was this unattainable thing that I would never like be able to be, or just like the people, they just seemed like so amazing. I don't know. They just felt like this other group of people. Um, and then I feel like over time, just like slow progression, and you like start to get to know these people and you're like, oh wait, they're just like our friend. They're just my friends. Like they're just normal people. And I feel like this group is like a perfect embodiment of that, because it's like everyone's so good and so talented, and like yet we're all just like people and all just like super good friends. And so I feel like um just having that like built-in friend group. I mean, I feel like that's kind of what it is. It's like this like instant friend that, and I feel like it's kind of like with anyone Rick coaches, you just like feel this connection somehow. And I think it is because we all respect Rick like so much that you're like, oh well, you're coached by Rick. Okay, you'll get it too. So I think that's like really special and unique. And then I also just think there is something really cool about just like getting to know people who are so good at running, like in a more personal level. Like I feel like I'm so inspired by Jane and Helen both, and like honestly, so many people that are um coached by Rick and other people as well. But I feel like when you have this chance to like get to know these people like really, really well, I feel like it like inspires you more almost. Like I've like never met anyone who's like tries harder than Helen in a race. Like I don't even understand like the ability, like her mental, like, but it's like so cool to see that. Like I have a front row seat to it now. Like I watch her like push herself so hard, and I wish I could do that. And I feel like it's really cool to see these like amazing runners like watch what they're doing. So I feel really lucky to like be in this group of people just because you get this like front row seat to that. And like also I feel like with Jane, like I don't know, just like watching her go, like you start doing all these like technical things out of kind of out of nowhere. I mean, we like started running, we were doing way too cool together. We are just like running on these California carpet trails, and like here she is just like doing the grand. Like that's so cool. Like it's just, I don't know. It's really inspiring to like see these people that are doing amazing things, and then you're like, oh wait, I know them, and like I'm watching them do it, and like, oh, that okay, I should push myself more. Like I should try these things that I thought I couldn't do. So anyway, I think it's really nice to like have the inspiration like right there.
You have that connection and witness to the deeper work that's going on, both like physically, but also internally, and what each other is going through that I think people outside don't necessarily get to see. It's personal. I like
Yeah.
that.
And it's cool being like in this community of people that are all kind of competing at the same level and thinking like, oh, they have all of these results, they're performing really well. But then when you're like around them all, you actually see like the full story of like, oh, they've had a rough training block, or like Lindsay throwing up all day the day before, but then still winning a race. It's like you get to kind of see, or like MK going through childbirth and then Achilles surgery and getting back to training. It's like these are the things that you don't see because it's not always talked about. And then you just see a victory at a race or like a podium, but there's so much more to the story.
I love that. Man, I really appreciate you guys sharing so much with me. Like I said, I really just was interested and curious in the pod and what you have going on, and I really enjoyed this conversation and sort of getting a little bit of a look at it from your perspectives, and just appreciate you sharing all of it. And thank you for being here. It was good to talk to you all too.
Yeah, thanks for having us. This is fun. It's fun when you just like get to talk to your friends.
Yeah. Thank you.
Totally. Thanks, Lauren.